to complete a quote request form that you will find on the Performance Shading Systems website or the Intelli-Shade website. First thing you want to do is go to www.intelli-shade.net. And once you get to the website, at that point in time, the first thing you're going to want to do is do the login and sign up. And if you don't currently have login credentials, go ahead and go to the login sign up section there, and you will want to utilize an email address as your username, then a password that you will be storing and saving on your side, and then type that password, of course, so that you will gain access to the site. What's going to happen once you put in your new login credentials, you will receive an email. That email will have a link. You will need to go to that link to confirm that that is you and that that is your email address before you will be able to utilize those login credentials. So as soon as you put in those credentials, look for the email from us that we will be sending to you, so you can follow the link and confirm that is your email address so you can gain access to the Ford Dealers tab on the website. So at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and sign in, utilizing our email address, our password, and we can now access the Ford Dealers tab on the website. You're going to want to go to Dealer Documents. This is where all of the forms are for anything that you need to complete or fill out. The new dealer forms are here, obviously, as well as order forms for sales supplies and kits. We're going to go down to the quote and order forms. The quote request that we are going to be completing today is going to be for roll shades. So go ahead and open up that quote request form for roll shades only. It will require you to download the Excel file. And once you have the Excel file in front of you, or the quote request form sheet, you'll notice that there are highlighted sections, highlighted in yellow. These are the sections that are required that you complete in order for us to provide you with an accurate quotation. So please make sure that anything that is highlighted in yellow is filled out so that we have all the information that we need to get a quotation done for you accurately and efficiently. You'll first want to start off with the quote request by. Put your name in there next to the quote request by. Let's put your name in there. Make sure we know who's requesting the quote. The side mark is the next thing you're going to want to fill in. We need to know the customer's last name, or if you like to use addresses for those customers of yours as opposed to their last names for privacy reasons, fine. Whatever you utilize as a side mark or a project name, that's what we want to see there. Then the date sent is also beneficial so that we know when you had submitted the form, so we know how quickly to get the quotation back to you. So please provide us with the date sent. Then dealer name at the very top right, very important. We need to know who is requesting the quote. So please make sure that you put your dealer name up there so that we know who to create the quote for. Okay, now we're going to get down to the details related to the shades themselves. The first thing is your room ID. Just so we have a location description for each shade, highly recommended that you provide a room location for the shades on this form so that if we're asking questions or if we're having conversations about that particular shade, we know which shade we're referring to and which room it's located in. Please provide us with the quantity. Now on the width and the length measurements, these do not have to be exact. These can be rough measurements. We suggest, just to make sure that pricing is accurate, if it's going to be a shade that's mounted as an OB, in other words, it's mounted on the wall above the window, the shade, I would add 6 inches to your overall interior window dimension for the width and add another 6 inches to your overall interior shade dimension that you found use that for your length. So at this point in time, we're going to base this on an IB shade condition, which means you're providing us with the interior dimensions of the window area, or in between the window casement or sill measurements. That is something that we've utilized here is, again, inside dimensions. They are rough at this point. They are not exact. It's just good enough for pricing purposes. We also need to make sure we know whether or not it's coupled. Coupled means that there are multiple shade bands on one motor. In this case, it is not coupled. So we will show you next, after this, how to do a coupled system in terms of quoting. This particular system here is just a single shade. We need to know the motor type. So please make sure you refer to our products tab, and you can then at that point in time, or even our dealer support tab, you can define or describe to us which system you are having us quote. So in this particular case, we're quoting the wireless Intelli-Shade product. So just under motor type, you can put wireless. That way we know which system it is that you're asking us to quote. We then need to know what type of hardware you are requesting. In this particular instance, when we talk about hardware, we're talking about the top treatment. Okay, so that is a fascia or a head box, or perhaps a pocket closure. In this particular instance, we're looking for fascia to conceal the shade system at the top. So put in your fascia as your type. And then as far as the color is concerned, we typically prefer that you have a color. It would be one of 5 standard colors, or it would be a custom color. So if it's one of our 5 standard colors, those colors are going to consist of white, anodized, black, bronze, or almond. So in this case, we're going to go with black. Since this is an IB or an inside measurement, we are not going to be concerned about the width. The width of the fascia is going to match the width of the shade system. So we don't need to worry about that. We can just put NA in there. So it doesn't really apply in this particular instance. And then as far as end caps go, we want to put an N. We never want to have end caps on a inside mount shade. If the window depth is not as deep as the bracket depth and you need end caps or partial end caps to cover, please order them separately down below in the special instructions area. Your fabric name, in this particular instance, it is not critical that we have the fabric name. You can just simply put the price group at this point in lieu of a fabric name if the fabric has not been selected. So we're going to go with a price group E, and then you will know at that point in time that when your customer is selecting fabrics that they're going to have to choose something in the price group E category or something below E, such as a D, to make sure that your pricing is going to be either equal to or less than for the client when it comes time to actually make their final selections. The controls. Make sure you do not miss this part. We need to know what controls you are asking for. In this particular case, what we're talking about referring to is the interface. So below controls, you want to make sure that the interface placed there is the IZMC -DCB. Okay, and that is the DC battery-powered Infinity Zigbee motor controller. That is the interface that is specific to this particular shade system. And at this point in time, that's all we need for this particular shade system. Now we're going to add another shade system below this in the quote so we can cover how to ask for a coupled shade system to be quoted. So we're going to put the room location. So we'll go ahead and do the room location. Let's call this the master bedroom, for example. Okay, and this is going to be a large shade that's going to require that it be coupled. So we're going to do a quantity of 1. We're then going to provide the overall shade width. So in this case, the overall shade width is 150. And the overall shade height is 108. Okay, and then under coupled, you need to let us know, is this a 2-on-1 system or a 3-on-1 system? In this particular case, it's going to be a 2-on-1 system, so you're going to write 2, then on, and then 1. So we know that it's a 2-on-1 system. Now below that, where we have the 150, the width of 150, you're going to give us the individual panel widths. So this, let's just say, for purposes of this discussion, this will be split down the middle. Your left panel width will be 75. You'll then put a slash or a diagonal line in between that measurement and the next measurement, which will be also 75, so that we know the two panel widths of that system. And again, we're going to fix our spreadsheet here so it allows us to do that. But in this particular case, what we have found works is if we space, yeah, we can utilize that as well. There we go. That works. So now we know it's a 2-on-1 system and the two panels are equal in size. We've split it down the middle, and we know that those two individual measurements add up to the overall width. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so we're all set there. We then want to go to the motor type. In this case, we're going to go to a DC hardwired. So we'll put DC HW, okay, which lets us know it's a DC hardwired solution here. And then let's move over to the hardware type. Let's just say that this one is going to go into a pocket. So in this particular case, we're going to want to choose a closure size. It's going up into an architectural pocket. So let's just say that pocket is roughly 5.5 inches front to back. We're going to request a 4-inch closure. Okay, so that's going to allow the fabric or the shade to drop down in that 1.5-inch gap that will be left between the edge of the closure and the back of the pocket if this is rolling off the back side. Colors for closures, we typically provide those in a mill finish or a prepped finish. In this particular instance, we're going to ask for a prep finish, which means that it is prepped to be painted. Typically, closures are painted on the job site so that they match the ceiling or soffit color. Now the width of the closure is going to be wider than the width of the shade because the pocket for the shade is wider than what the shade width needs to be in order to cover the full width of this sliding glass door. So in this particular instance, we're going to ask for a closure width of 156 because the pocket was made 6 inches wider than the overall bracket to bracket width of the shade. End caps do not apply with closures. So you can just put an NA or an N. And then again, fabric name here, you can just give us a price group to follow. Again, we'll go with an E in this case, so we know that we're fairly well covered in terms of fabric selections for your client to choose from. We're then going to want to go down to the controls, and we're going to want to ask for an IZMC-DCS. Go to your special instructions and ask for one DC 24 volt power supply. And in this particular case, we're going to want to request a J-box power supply. So we'll want to specify that it's a J-box style by simply just adding J-box. So we know that that is designed to go up into a single gang J-box as opposed to a plug-in power supply. So we now have our power supply needs taken care of, we have our interface needs taken care of, and we have all of the dimensions and hardware as well as motor types specified so that we can get a proposal out to you that is accurate and timely, and you can go on to getting that to your customer and selling them on all of this good stuff. So thanks for watching, much success with this, and certainly if you have any further needs, feel free to call us at 1-888-85-INTELLI or 1-877-788-3656. We're here to help. Thank you very much.